Plumber answers most common plumbing questions from Google. Now, Google knows everything. We know that. I go to Google so many times a day, it drives my wife crazy. Well, it drives her crazy because she doesn't go to Google because she already knows everything. So, okay, maybe not, but here's the deal. Google is where we find all our answers. So we did some research to find out what are the top 9 questions asked about plumbing on Google. Now, we found a lot of different ones and in a lot of different places, but we all brought it back together and we found some very popular questions, and it makes sense. So really, we're going to start at number 9. Why do the pipes make noise when I flush my toilet? For me, a plumber, it makes sense. A flush valve opens up and lets the water out so your toilet can flush. But then the fill valve, once it's full, it stops. It shuts off. Now, what happens then, that valve, when it shuts off, a quick shut-off valve like that makes the pressure just kind of stop right where it's at. And that's going to make the lines move. It could be different reasons as to why it's happening, but normally the plumbers did not secure your pipes properly. That happens sometimes. Plumbers aren't going through checking every single line to make sure they aren't moving, but they should be, because this is something that can drive some homeowners crazy. Sometimes when you turn on hot water somewhere, and I know this isn't your toilet, but you can also hear that little clicking, and it almost sounds like a water drip. And there's been times my wife's told me, look, I hear water dripping on the wall. And it's not really dripping, it's the thermal expansion of the copper pipe. That can cause pipes and walls to make noises too. Now, what if your pipes are making noise when you're not flushing a toilet? It's possible that something else kicked on, an ice maker, a washing machine, a dishwasher. Anything that has that quick shut-off valve can make the pipes move and make them make noises. This happens. Things that may be the problem, your house may have too much pressure. That can be fixed with a pressure reducing valve, but if you do that, then you've also got to put an expansion tank on your water heater. The other thing that can make it make noises when you're flushing your toilet is if it vibrates or makes a funny kind of a noise, it could possibly be the washer loose on the shutoff valve. I've seen some of these that actually, it would make it vibrate. And when the fill valve goes bad, the water going through it can make your toilet make all kinds of noises. Everything from a scream to a sputtering to, just a hard hammering noise. So toilets can make your water pipes, or just the toilets, make a lot of noise. And one way to fix it, change the fill valve. The piece that comes in where the water hooks up and below is your fill valve. Now, I've got another video where I show you how to completely rebuild a toilet. The fill valve is very easy to do. Number 8, why do I have cloudy water? If you have it just on your hot side, I might say it's time to flush your water heater. But normally, cloudy water is just turbidity. It's the air in the water. It could be from too many 90s. It could be from high pressure. And believe it or not, it happens more in colder temperatures. All that is normally bubbles in the water. Now, if it's not bubbles, if you've actually got sediment or debris or things like that in your water, you may want to get a water filtration system. And I don't just mean on your kitchen sink, I mean on your whole house. Depending on what's in your water, remember guys, you take showers in that. Believe it or not, they allow so much bad things in your water, and it's okay. But a whole house water filtration system can help take a lot of that out. Actually, can take all of it out, almost. Fluoride's about the only thing that's really hard to get out, but a normal whole house water filtration system will take out chloramine, chlorine, different things like that. And if it's sediment and particles in your water, it'll take that out too. If your cloudy water is mainly on the hot side, it may be time to flush your water heater, but we'll talk about that one in just a minute. Number 7, another good question. My garbage disposal stopped working. What do I do? Well, there's different things that it could be. Really, there's 3 different things. Your garbage disposal could be jammed. Your garbage disposal could have kicked its little breaker, or your garbage disposal may just need to be replaced. Let's start at the worst one. If your garbage disposal just needs to be replaced, chances are it's leaking. It's not making any noise at all. It's not doing anything. Check your breaker first. Is your breaker turned on? Do you have power there? One good thing to do is unplug your garbage disposal, plug in a light bulb. Turn it on, turn it off, see if it works. If it's working, your garbage disposal should be working. Let's go to if it's just tripped or needs to be reset. If you'll reach down on the bottom of your garbage disposal, if there's a little red button sticking out, push it up in there. Sometimes just resetting the garbage disposal is all it needs. And I know some plumbers that will come out and reset that, literally just push a button in and charge you a lot of money. Guys, watch this video, listen and pay attention. I'm trying to save you money here. Now the next one. What if your garbage disposal is jammed? If you turn your garbage disposal on and it makes a humming noise, chances are it's just jammed. There's a spot in the bottom on the center of some of them to put in a hex head, a hex wrench, an Allen wrench, whatever you want to call it, and try to turn it. Turn it one way or the other, see if you can get it unstuck. If this doesn't work, take a plunger or a broom, take a wood handle, stick down in there and stir it around like it's a witch's brew. You're trying to bust loose those blades because they're jammed up in there somewhere. Guys, a garbage disposal, if it's humming or just jammed, it's easy. And that's a repair that you can do yourself. Now, when it's leaking, look up at the top. Is it leaking at the top? Does it need a new seal on it? Or are the insides rusted and it's just time to replace it? Guys, replacing a garbage disposal is something you can do, but you may want to call a licensed plumber. Number 6, and this is one of the most important things you should ever know. How do I shut the water off to my house? Where's my valve located? Well, here where I'm at in North Texas, we've got 2 valves. We've got one out by the meter, which is actually on the city side. Then we've got one up by the house at the valve box. Guys, one of the most important videos I make is showing you how to shut the water off to your house. It's huge. There's a link to it up here. Click on it and go watch that video if you don't know how to shut the water off. Now, say you live up in New York or something. You've got a basement. Your shutoff valve, the easiest one to get to, may be down in your basement. Make sure you know how to shut the water off before you have a problem at your house. And the reason I say that, here in Texas, they started putting water heaters up in the attic. It's got to be the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. When that water heater floods and people don't know how to turn the water off, it can cost them thousands and thousands of dollars. Knowing how to turn the water off and how to turn it off quickly can save you a lot of money if you have a flood. So go out in your flower bed or go out by the street where the meter is and look. Do you have what it takes to get into that box? And if there's any tools required, do you have the tool that it takes to turn the water off to your house? This is one of the most valuable tips that I ever give people. Make sure you, everybody in your house, knows how to turn the water off. If you have a leak on a hot side, it's possible to just go to the water heater. There should be a valve turning off the water heater on the inlet side. Now, I've seen where some homeowners installed their own water heater and they didn't put the valve back. Guys, there should be a valve on the inlet side of your water heater no matter what. That is something, if your leak's on the hot side, can still allow you to use toilets, lavatories, anything like that. Number 5, my water heater is leaking. What do I do? The first thing you want to do is shut the water off. Now, like I just mentioned, if there's a valve on top that you can just, it's got a handle and you can turn it 90 degrees, that will shut the water off. If it's got an old gate valve, turn it, crank it down, try to shut the water off. If that does not work, go outside to your valve box or your meter box and turn the water off there. The next thing you want to do after you turn the water off is, if it's a gas water heater, turn the gas valve off. If it's an electric water heater, turn it off at the breaker. You don't want any power there. That way, any water that leaks out, you're not just keeping it hot or anything. The next thing you want to do is go to like a bathtub, open up the hot side only. This is going to relieve the pressure. Now you can also do this on your TMP valve at the water heater if you can get to it. Pry it open, stand the little pin up and make it stay there. That way it takes the pressure off. Once you get the pressure off, close it all back. You want to try to create a vacuum to keep that water from just leaking out until you can hook a hose up and drain it. But before you do that, make sure that it's your water heater leaking, not an inlet up top or a connection up top leaking through. I've seen just a flex supply on top leak and spray down in the water heater where it looked like the water heater was leaking. Once we changed the flex, everything was okay. Guys, a leaking water heater can cost you a lot of money. Again, make sure you know how to turn the water off. Number 4, how to flush a water heater. We're going to talk about tank type here. I've got another video where I show you how to flush a tankless water heater. That is a little more detailed because you've got to have a pump, you've got to have chemicals, different things. But right now we're going to talk a tank type water heater. Here's the thing. A tank type water heater should have a drain valve on it. You want to hook a water hose up and run it outside. Now remember, this is going to be hot water coming out, so you don't want to put it in your yard. You want to put it either in your driveway or in the alley, but you also want to watch it and make sure some kids aren't going to come by and play in the hot water and possibly get burned. Think of safety first. Some plumbers will tell you they like shutting off the cold water, opening up a hot valve, and draining the entire water heater. I don't like doing that because I think once once you cool down that tank that cool and then put water back in it and heat it up again, the thermal expansion is so much that it leads to problems. It can actually lead to a leaking water heater. So I like to hook a water hose up, leave the cold valve on, and run it. Just let it run. A good water heater comes down and sprays that water in and circulates everything up. What you're trying to do, you're trying to get the calcium and magnesium out of the bottom of the water heater. That sediment builds up and the efficiency rating of your water heater goes way down because now you're heating a lot of chemicals that aren't going anywhere. So guys, flushing your water heater once a year is really an important thing to do for tank and tankless types. To see how to do a tankless water heater, watch the video and see how you can do it yourself. After flushing the water heater, make sure you turn the valve off really good before disconnecting the hose. That'll keep you from making a mess and getting water everywhere. Number 3, I have no water in my house. What happened? Well, number 1, you didn't pay your bill. Well, okay, sometimes that's what happens. Now, here's the thing. I've never really seen water just stop coming to a house unless the lines froze or the city turned it off. It may not be that the city turned it off. Here in Texas, we teach a lot about cross connections and backflow. What could have happened is there could be a fire in the neighborhood. When they hook up fire hoses and pumps to the hydrants and draw out a ton of water, it'll create a negative pressure enough that it could literally suck water back through the system from your house. And at that point, you're not going to get water out because you're not going to have enough pressure there. Is it possible you don't have just hot water coming out? Maybe something happened on your water heater. We install flood stops, and I get more calls from people saying, look, I don't have any hot water, and it's your fault. Well, have you checked the batteries in your flood stop? Guys, if you don't have any hot water and you have a flood stop, it's a possibility. That's about all the problems that it could be. What I recommend is go out and look at your water meter. Is it turned on? Go look outside. Is there a flood? Is there a fire? Is there anything going on that could lead to problems like that? The biggest reason that we get calls about people not having water, they didn't pay their bill. Now, one thing I'll tell you though, take care of your water heater. If your water's off, don't try to run hot water and wash your hands or wash dishes or do anything. Go turn the gas and the electricity off to your water heater. Now on the gas, turn it down to pilot. Electricity, go to the breaker and turn it off. If you do anything to draw the hot water out, you can really damage both those tanks, and that's something you don't want to do. Number 2, why do I have a sewer gas smell in my house? Did you flush the toilet? I mean, that could be it. Okay, probably not. Here's the deal. Sewer gas smells are what the vents going through the roof are there to take care of, but also the P-traps under your sink. One issue that we see a lot, and we ask people this when they call in, if it's just one bathroom, maybe you walked into a guest bathroom that doesn't get used very often. If you walk in there and you have a sewer gas smell, run the tub for a minute, run the lavatory for a minute, maybe even flush the toilet. Here's what happens. Those P-traps literally create a break between the atmospheric pressure and the sewer line, and that way you don't get sewer gases in your house all the time. That little bit of water in the bottom of the P-trap keeps the sewer gas from coming through. If it's a bathroom you never use, those traps can go dry. Say it's a bathroom you do use all the time, or say you tried that in the guest bathroom and it didn't work. It's very possible the wax ring under the toilet could have either backed up and pushed the wax out. There's no telling what could have happened. Maybe it's loose and it wobbles and broke the seal. Sewer gas coming out from under a toilet is probably the second biggest reason that we find for sewer gas smells in the house. Some plumbers recommend doing leak test and leak detection. Really, the best thing to do if you're still getting sewer gas smells in the house after you've done this is a smoke test. Now, a lot of plumbers don't know how to do it, but literally you put smoke into the sewer system and see where it comes out. If you've got a plumber coming to do that, ask them first if they called the fire department, because one thing that we do every time we go is we call the fire department and let them know. That way if the neighbors see smoke billowing out of the top of your house, they don't call the fire department. Think ahead. It's what it's all about. The biggest one on Google, why does my toilet keep running? And guys, this is our most popular video. Go check it out because I show you different things that can help you rebuild your own toilet. Why does the toilet keep running? Either your fill valve, your flush valve, or your flapper, you're having a problem with it. And I show you in that video how to change each one of them, but the fill valve is the one where the water comes in. That's to the left side where it goes up and down. That's actually a valve that shuts off the water. The flapper, you know what it is. It's that rubber piece right down in the middle. Now, say you don't have that kind. Say you've got like a round cylinder that lifts up and down. There's still a rubber washer that goes around that you can change. And the other one, the flush valve. The flush valve with the dip tube coming up the middle, guys, that's the hardest one to change, and that's the most expensive one for a plumber to come out for. But those are all three things that you can change yourself without any problem. The parts aren't very expensive, and it's something you can do. Now, I will tell you this. If you have to do your flush valve yourself, be very careful pulling the tank off. Be very careful setting it down. You can break it, and you want to make sure that you replace those rubber washers in there when you put it back together. That way you don't have a leak and have to do it all again. So guys, let me know what you think. Which one of these questions do you have the most? And leave me a comment down below and tell me, is it something you've been able to do yourself and take care of, or did you have to call a plumber? I'm Roger Wakefield, Lead AP, the expert plumber. I'll see you in the next video if you don't get flushed.